Today I fucked up by tossing my full 8-month-old in the air. So, I haven't been a mom long. 8 months, and in those 8 months, my daughter had a habit of spitting up after she ate every time. Well, that pretty much stopped by 7 months old, and she hadn't spit up on me in a while. She always spit up on me, not daddy. So, I gave her lunch of pureed peaches today, and as usual, washed it down with bottle. She was smiling so much and just looked so adorable that I picked her up and tossed her into the air the way she likes. It makes her giggle and I love it. It also makes me open mouth laugh. A telltale warning of the imminent eruption, she proceeds to spit up into my open mouth. Not on my closed lips. Inside my mouth. I just stood there, unable to process what had happened. Not a taste I'll forget. Too long didn't read. I tossed my baby in the air after she just ate, and she threw up in my mouth as I was laughing with her. This happened to me once too, but honestly the most memorable one was when my son threw up into my ear. I can still hear it bubbling almost a year later. Oh no 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 no. When my daughter was a few weeks old, I gave her a bath in the sink. I was holding her up for my mom to wrap her in a towel. Mom dropped the towel on the floor. When she bent down to pick it up, my daughter pooped right on mom's head. Son attempted to pee on me during a diaper change, not once, not twice, but 3 times. But because I'm super awesome, I managed to block each of those golden showers with his diaper. Pleased with myself, I grabbed his ankles to lift his ass, and ended up with projectile, explosive diarrhea all over my face and hair. Startled, I dropped his feet, and he scooted back over the end of the changing table. Attempted to grab him before he went off the backside, but not before he whacked his head. Baby diarrhea in the eyes, nostrils, and mouth is not something soon forgotten, as evidenced by it being 20 years later, and I still remember this all too vividly. Managed to avoid this one, but my Sil was playing with my son after he'd eaten. Despite warnings, she's had 3 children of her own and felt like don't be too vigorous after he's just eaten was just being overcautious. The regret was instant, and years later we haven't let her live it down. My Bill was christening one of their children. He had a button missing on his shirt. Child throw up in the gap, so inside his shirt. Made me laugh out loud. I get sent out if the church. I was not that young and should have known better. We have a photo in our family of my cousin spitting up in her dad's mouth when she was a baby. The moment was captured with the spit up midway between baby and dad's open mouth. It's a treasured photo. Today I fucked up by learning what foreplay is, 15 years too late. So by nature of things this didn't happen today, but more that I finally realized today what foreplay is. If it helps some other guys out there, then all the better. I've been married with my wife for about 15 years now. It's a good marriage. We have lots of fun, and she is a real fun person to be around, even after all these years. If there's one thing I can nitpick about is that sex life wasn't as good as I thought it could be. She always seems real shy and not really into it. Sure, if I ask for it we would do the deed, but she's always passive about it. Well, I've always thought that maybe I'm just not good, so it's not enjoyable for her. I know, or thought I know, about foreplay as the different things you do before sex to get her in the mood. So I try, and learn things through porn and such, to varying minimal successes over the years. Since the quarantine I've been just working from home, so we have extra snuggle time in the morning. Well then, when we wake up a lot of time I would just start playing with her lightly when we snuggle in the morning, and we'd giggle and thought it's fun. Then I'll go to my laptop to start working. And here's what I realized today. Every time we do this snuggle and play, she'd be in the mood for some sexy time that day, a lot of times even early in the afternoon. Sexy time is much more frequent now than ever. And that's when I finally realize what foreplay is and what no video or expert ever say. It's not what you do right before sex, but what you do to set the mood for the rest of the day. It's like setting that early fuse for the explosion later. Yeah, some of you may snicker and say that you've known this for a long time and whatnot. Well, I didn't, and nobody ever talk about the timing of things and more about technique and such. So if this also finally dawned on someone else as well, then glad to be of help. TL Doctor, foreplay is about timing, not technique. Hey, you're not the only one. Most guys I've dated have thought foreplay equals purely physically stimulating partner before sex to arouse, and it is important to be stimulated, but none of that means anything if I'm mentally and emotionally not there. See, the thing is, I've heard about how girls need to be mentally and emotionally be there and all before. What I didn't know was how. As it turns out, sometimes it's not a big effort to get there. Having some fun without really expecting things right then. Planting the seed and let the mood grow, etc. And that's when I finally realize what foreplay is and what no video or expert ever say. It's not what you do right before sex, but what you do to set the mood for the rest of the day. It's like setting that early fuse for the explosion later. I need to embroider this on a pillow. My husband always gets me off, but I wish he realized that what he does before we even go to bed is just as important as the act itself. Deleted. Yeah, it's so much more and not always about the things you think. It's that well-placed hand on the thigh when driving somewhere, that kiss on the neck as you're looking at something in the store, those butt touches as you walk together. It all counts, guys. Never too old to learn. Congrats to you and your lucky partner. My wife is a family science major and she learned that the actual definition of foreplay is what you do in between each time you have sex. So everything you do or say leads to wanting or not wanting to have sex. I thought this was interesting at least. Today I fucked up by accidentally leaving my skirt tucked in behind the elastic and then strolling through town in my underwear. I'd bought a new black skirt and it was a beauty. It had 2 layers, one very sheer and the other basic black underneath. It was short, and I remember thinking not bad. When I judged myself in the mirror that morning, in all honesty, I thought I looked pretty hot, and after a quick stop to the bathroom I left home feeling confident in my new outfit. My confidence was fortified when several cars honked at me as I crossed the street in front of my house. I thought nothing of it. After all, this was Amsterdam. Catcalling wasn't exactly a scarce occurrence. If anything, my spine straightened a bit. I took a tram, got out and started walking across Dam Square, which was crowded as ever. People smiled at me as I passed by and I, practically radiating, smiled back. Figured all these other people were having as good a day as I was having. I'd almost arrived at my destination when I felt a surprisingly cool wind stroke my behind. Oh, that's cold, I thought. And then, with a mild shock, perhaps even a bit too cold. This is when I reached around and found that the black skirt that was supposed to be underneath the sheer one, had been firmly tucked in behind the elastic band around my waist, leaving my behind completely exposed. Now, to make matters worse, it had been that time of the month. I don't know about you other ladies out there, but I generally stick to wearing my most hideous, could possibly be used as a tent underwear during my period. That particular morning, my choice had fallen on a pair of absolutely gigantic, granny-worthy white knickers. For the past 30 minutes I had, essentially, strutted around the city, head held high, radiant in confidence, in my white granny underwear. No further strutting was done that day. I'll admit, this did not happen today. Too long didn't read, my skirt was stuck behind the elastic in the back, leaving me to show my behind to the world. I noticed it very late and mistakenly interpreted the commotion I caused, as positive attention and flattery. I think I'm mad for you that not one person mentioned it. That person that would politely say something. That's like someone walking around in the office all morning with a booger showing in their nose, or food on their face. I'm sorry this happened. I would have said something. But it is funny, have a laugh BC, there's nothing you can do now. Lol. Lamau, the granny panties sealed the deal. Thanks for the laugh this morning. People smiled at me as I passed by and I, practically radiating, smiled back. This teared me up. Thank you for the laughs. This would have been funnier if it hadn't been so relatable. As a person who also often forgets to zip her pants, the possibility that my skirt gets tucked into my underwear and I remain oblivious to it is too real. Edited typos. Velp, I did this exact move in downtown Seattle. Except instead of granny panties, I was wearing a microscopic thong, which probably was invisible, so I looked totally bare ass. TBH, I don't know which would be the worst choice. At least some kind lady stopped me after about 10 minutes. Bless her.